Let's go, baby!
But the Martian moves along. Any news I got to know said the war was just for show.
What's going on? Welcome back to my channel. This week again, I'm going through some more race footage from this past summer. My first dual slalom race that I ever competed in. This was a super fun event that we put on as CSU bike team. Being that it was everyone's first time putting on a race or an event, there were definitely some growing pains and some hiccups that we can fix next year. But for me, it was actually really good. It was the first time my wrist didn't play a major factor into my riding capability. This first run was against Ross Soriano. At Nationals, he ended up winning national champion for club teams in dual slalom. Looking back, I knew I had no shot at competing with Ross, but looking back and reviewing the footage, it was super cool to see how far off I was from the top guys and how fast they're truly going. So clearly that wasn't my best run. Had a little bobble there at the bottom, over jumped the first double, case the second double, you know how it goes. So it finally come down to the time. It was my first dual slalom race. Unfortunately, the compressor that was running the gates had blown a fuse. The gates were no longer working, which sucked so much because I was in clips. So I was relying on the gate. But we had an official there making things work using a whistle and a random start, basically. It was super unfortunate not to have the gate to lean against while I was clipping into my pedals, but I tried to make the most of it, so let's see how it went. Fuck. I was unclipped and unable to put any real power to the pedals all the way up until this point of my run. Luckily for me, my opponent had just the hardest time clipping in as I did. Unfortunately, the bobble wasn't enough to take me into the lead, but I was definitely close enough that I was going to make it a race in the second run. Let's go ahead and find out what happens. Boom! After the rematch, I was able to secure the win. He had a little bobble there right at the end, but I was able to put the pedal down and push through the finish. Even just looking back on the footage right now, I still get super pumped on taking that first win in my first matchup racing dual slalom. Even though that's not something that's super impressive, it was still a real important moment to me because it feels like I was able to ride the way I knew I could ride, unlike pretty much any time the rest of this season. So I do admit it's a little cringy on how stoked I got, but in the moment, I was very excited. And that kind of brings me on to our next topic that I want to talk about. Well, I'm getting absolutely smoked by somebody from Air Force. And at this point, I was super stoked and I was just happy to be there, so I was just having fun on my bike. But all that being said, I do want to say that I understand that I'm not the most fast person on a bike, and I'm probably not the best person to be talking about bikes on YouTube, but it's definitely something I've fallen in love with in the past 3 years, and it's definitely something I'm passionate about and I'm continuing to work towards getting better at. So I know the last couple couple of videos going over the races were not that impressive by any means, but I really appreciate you if you stuck by and watched it, and you can join me along in my little journey of getting better on a bike.
But the Martian moves along. Any news I got to know said the war was just for show. Look how far we've got to go. Guess the time is moving slow when you're out here on the road. If this world is make-believe, baby, what do you make of me? Would you pay or stay for free? Guess that either way you do, I'll still be there next to you, just to make sure we pull through.
So to wrap up, I got 14th overall out of 40 something people. That's not very impressive, but personally I was very happy with how I performed. It was actually much better than I thought I was gonna do. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. Later.